Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome to the video, welcome to my garage. In this video, I'm going to be adding another axle to Bajauler, which is the trailer I made for hauling my Bajas. So if you're a regular viewer, you know that I just recently used this trailer to haul Mauler to an off-road park. And although everything worked fine, it seemed like it was really pushing the limits of just this single axle. So since then, I've been scouring Craigslist, and I did find another 3,500 pound axle. This axle here is a 3,500 pound axle. I found another axle with the same center to center mounts as this one. So I picked it up. I've already taken it apart, cleaned it up, painted it, repacked the bearings, and kind of got the axle itself ready to go. But this video is going to be about dropping this axle, installing the leaf spring mounts for the tandem axle, and then putting all that stuff together. So while I was tearing things apart, I obviously gave these hubs a spin, and this one feels really bad. Something, my guess would be one of the bearings broke or something, because this is very, very ratchety feeling, and ratchet. And I know it wasn't like this before I went on my little road trip, because before I did that road trip, I jacked up both sides and checked the hubs, and they actually had a little bit of slop in them. So I snugged up the nuts a little bit. I didn't re-grease them or anything, but I snugged them up so that they didn't have any slop. And this one, the one on the other side feels great, but this one is notchy. So I need to tear this apart and find out what kind of damage I'm looking at so that I can get parts ordered, so that when I add this second axle, I'm actually roadworthy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this cap off, and I'm going to pull the hub off, and I'm going to see, really what I'm looking for is, I don't really care if the bearing's damaged or if the hub is damaged, but I really don't want the axle to be damaged, because this axle is all welded in place, and that'll be a big project for me. But you know, the only way to find out is to tear it apart and see what I'm dealing with. And let's see what things look like in here. No, wasn't really all that tight, but either way, I didn't want to mess around with the monkey wrench. So let's see what we're dealing with here. Okay, we got the nut off. There's always a washer hidden behind there. I'm putting my gloves on because my hands are cold, but I really don't want to get my gloves greasy. There's the washer, and there's the outboard bearing. So that bearing, I don't see any like broken or cracked bearings or anything, but okay, so I'm just gonna pull this off, and then we'll see what the actual axle looks like. All right, so I got some t-shirt rags here, and what that means is I usually, you know, if I get a t-shirt as a rag, I'll cut it up into a bunch of small pieces, because that's the best way to get the most mileage out of a t-shirt rag. And we don't want to waste anything if possible, so. All right, I think the axle itself is in good shape. This is where the outboard bearing rides right here. And there's no galling or anything. There's nothing to make me think that the bearing had locked up and then was spinning the race itself on the shaft. And then this right here is where the inboard bearing rides. You can even see a little bit of a mark where it actually rides, but again, it's not galled up, so I don't believe that it seized and spun itself on the axle. There's a weird little mark here, but I honestly think that mark is so perfect all the way around. I think that's a machining mark. I think. Anyways, this is where the seal rides, and you can see a little mark from the seal, but that's fine. There's no damage here. What I will do is I'll pop off the hub on the other side just to verify that it has this little ridge also from machining. But more importantly, because I really do want to find out what happened, I'm going to take this outside, and in order to access the inside bearing, you have to either pry out the oil seal there or smash everything through from the inside. But I've seen the outside bearing, and it doesn't look terrible. So I want to pop this one out and see what that bearing looks like. All right, so I think I found what the issue is. This is the inside bearing race, and if you see, this race is covered in these little, I don't know what they are. They're damage. They feel like little ridges. When you run your finger through there, you can actually feel them. I don't know if they're cracks or what, but anyways, this is the inner bearing race, the bigger one. This is the outer race, and if you can see, it has them as well. It has those same little ridges. And then if you look at this bearing, I don't know, it doesn't really want to focus on this. But the actual bearing itself, the little roller bearings, they have the same little marks. So anyways, I don't know what exactly causes that, but that's what the issue was, which is good because it doesn't, these weren't spinning and the races weren't spinning on the axle. It just means that I don't know if these are too old. This came off of a really old trailer, but regardless, I'm going to buy a new bearing kit. I might even get a new hub kit, but I'll get those replaced. right, now at this point I've got my old axle out of there. The fenders are cut off. I've redone this hook for the winch. Of course, you guys can see I've got a winch system so that when I'm not using this, the trailer gets pulled up to the ceiling. These hooks have to be in a strategic spot so that they're in line with the winches. So before, this hook was kind of integrated into the fender mount, but since that's gone, I made some new hooks. So these are set to go. I'm pretty sure these, because I think there's going to be a tire right here, but these should be in enough. I mean, I guess I'll find out, but I'm pretty sure the tire will stick out here and that won't be a problem. So I've got those all set up. What I have here is, before I tore this all apart, this was the center line of my axle when it was the single axle. I had the leaf spring that would come down here, and then I had a shackle over there. But now I'm going to the tandem axle setup. So I bought what they call an equalizer kit. So it's got this piece in the middle, which is the equalizer. And this allows the two axles to kind of work together so that if one's pushing up a little bit more here, this equalizer bar will, let it go that way and kind of make it so that the two axles are not independent, they're working together. Since I'm going from a single axle to a tandem axle, the way that I had the single axle set up, the weight distribution for hauling the Bajas was really pretty good. I was real happy with that, so I'm not changing any of that. So I've got this center line, so I'm going to install this bracket with the equalizer right on the center line, and then I'll have that leaf spring going forward and this leaf spring going back. This is laid out how it's supposed to be. I've got 29 inches from center line here to center line here. That takes into equation the length of this leaf spring and then gives me, a good angle on my shackle here. So I've got this laid out so that I can see what I need to deal with underneath. I knew that I was going to have to lop off this bracket and that bracket. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to take this off, and as it turns out, I do. So I'll have to take that off. Maybe I'll move it further back or something. I'm not sure, because I want to have that toe point. But regardless, what I can do now is I can pick the trailer up a little bit, lop that off, lop that off, lop that off, and then I can start welding these brackets on now that I know roughly where they need to be. All right, so it's the next day. My brackets are welded in place. The paint is dry, so I'm gonna start bolting things in place. I'm using specific trailer hardware which has knurls on one end so that once you drive the bolt in there, it stays in place, even if the bolt kind of backs off. And then the nuts themselves are jam nuts. They're kind of like crimped down on one end so that when you spin them on, they kind of like jam themselves on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble all this stuff, and you might notice what I'll do is I'll draw them in tight, and then I'll actually back it off a little bit and make sure that the parts are loose. Because if you just draw it in tight, you might actually take these pieces and just pinch your leaf springs or the equalizer, and then it doesn't want to move at all. So I'll draw it in till everything's good and snug, and then I'll loosen it up a little bit and make sure that the stuff moves. I don't want it to be sloppy, but I want to make sure that everything moves. And I've taken everything that's got holes like this, and I've already put some chassis grease in there just so that things have a little bit of lubrication going on. Okay guys, so that's it for this video. As you can see behind me, when I started the video, this was a single axle trailer. Yeah, you're in the shot. Move. Okay, you can see now that this is a tandem axle trailer. When I started the video, it was a single axle trailer. It's not completely done. I still need to make some modifications to it so that ratchet will fit on top of it. I need to make some changes to the ramps and a couple other things. But that is an adventure for another day because I've been working on this damn thing for 3 weeks. I was working on it while I was working on some other projects, but guys, I've been working on it forever. I got it to the point where I got both axles on there. They're good to go. I've repacked the bearings. Everything as far as the axle's concerned are good. The only thing that I still want to do on this stuff is I want to make some fenders and put them on there. And I want to put brakes on here. Obviously, I need brakes. So I'm going to put brakes on these wheels on this axle. And I also need to... as you can, hey, come on, Doug. I also need to get a new wheel. This is the wheel that came with this trailer originally, and I just haven't replaced it yet. The tire is actually in great shape. The tire's got really good tread, but the wheel's terrible. I don't want to just paint it. I'm probably gonna order a new one and just replace it. And I'll do that pretty soon because if you guys know me, you know that having a nice new wheel and then a crappy old wheel is not gonna fly. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it maybe is helping you with your projects, and I hope to see you on the next video. Take care.